It's time to do some solitary bee room service today in my bee hotel, because while the springtime mason bees have wrapped up for the season, the summertime leafcutter bees are coming in hot. Hot in the sense that mine are arriving in the mail in just over a week. I had to order mine from the mail because the generation from last year decided not to stay at my lovely bee hotel, which I am struggling to not take very personally. So we've got to make room for the new leafcutter bees that are coming in by doing two things. One, I have to take out the mason bee cocoons that are in here. Most of them have emerged, some of them have not. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of a bee autopsy. We'll see what percentage of them emerged and try to figure out what might have caused them to not emerge. Since there isn't really a way for them to leave reviews for the hotel or perhaps for their stay in my fridge over the winter, data collection is the best that we can do to figure out how to best serve our native bees. So we're going to make sure that this attic is clear for when the leafcutter bee cocoons are ready, and then we can just pop them there in the nursery. The next thing we need to do is actually make sure that they have nesting material available for them. Because as of right now, these nesting materials are the size that the mason bees actually prefer, not the leafcutter bees. But there are two things I want to mention with that. One is that I actually do not want to disturb the capped nesting material that the mason bees have used. If I were to pull those out, those delicate little baby bees in there will be disturbed and they might get harmed. So they actually need to stay right where they are. And in fact, we have 14 fully capped nesting rods, nesting tubes. And then we have one that didn't quite get finished. I don't know what happened to the poor soul, but she didn't come back and close up the very few inches in there. Additionally, while I'm here, and so I don't forget, I will actually be marking which nesting tube was Beatrice. If you remember her adventure, she was the very first bee that emerged and started using my hotel. But what was interesting for her story is that she emerged before any of the males emerged. Typically, the males emerge first and just wait for the females to come around. She emerged first and had no boys, at least from my hotel, to help give her the ability to make any females. So I'm marking her tube right now. So when we harvest in the fall, we can see if she filled her tube in the back with only males, which is my theory because that's what happens if there are no males around to help you give sperm to make a female. Typically, the females are nested in the back. We're going to see if that was the case for Beatrice, because if there are females in the back, that means that she found a wild male, which is also really good because it means that there's plenty of opportunity for this gene pool to get some diversity. So I marked it with a Sharpie, and I wanted to make sure to do that after the mason bees were done doing this because these are very stinky markers. The smell of this stinky marker might disrupt them and their pheromone trails, and so that might have impacted how many of them continue to come back to the hotel. So we're doing it now because there's going to be plenty of time for that to air out before the leafcutter bees arrive. So we're not going to be taking out any of the material that is currently full, and I'm going to do my best to not actually touch any of the ones that are nearby to it. This block here is actually a reusable nesting block, and I have one that is of the size that the leafcutter bees prefer. So we will swap those out because there's no sign of any life in this one, so I don't feel any concern about moving that away because I don't think any mason bees used it. So let's pop on over where we can start doing some bee autopsies. Okay. So I'm going to sort these into a couple different categories. One is whether they have emerged. So if there is no more bee in it, they have emerged, that is on one side. The other side is has not emerged. And then within those two categories, I'm going to keep track of the size because the smaller it is, that means it's a male. And the larger it is, that means it's a female. So we'll be able to see based on their gender how they did. And so let's get started. So we've got the males down here, females up here. These ones have emerged, and these ones have not emerged. We've got 44 emerged females, 9 females that did not emerge, 86 emerged males, which is almost double what the females were, which is interesting. And then we have 58 unemerged, what I assume are males. The thing about these ones, though, is that they could be females that didn't fully develop and then still tried to cocoon themselves into the winter. With unemerged bees, you will always have some percentage of them that don't make it through the winter. So I'm telling myself that now because I definitely don't want to think about having done anything incorrectly to get them through their whole life cycle. Next step is to open up one of these females. Since it's bigger, it'll be easier to see on camera, and see if there's anything immediately identifiable about why they did not emerge. Looks like wings are intact, and actually she's fully formed. So probably from our diagnosis here, we'll be able to know what happened. She's got all of her legs. Looks like a good, healthy body to me. So guess it just wasn't meant to be for her. Now we've emptied out this little attic here, so it is all nice and ready to receive more cocoons. And now we got to make sure that they have plenty of places to nest. I'm going to very gently remove with 2 hands this block. And then really give it a good inspection just in case. Yeah, I don't see anybody in there. And so this guy is going to go in as its replacement. As you can see, the holes are very different sizes, and the leaf cutters prefer these smaller sizes. So this is why this is going in. But there's also something I want to point out, is this viewing drawer. So it allows you to open it up and take a peek at any of the bees inside there. This is for the mason bees. As you can see, nobody used it. So we are also going to put this away for the season, since they have completed their life journeys. But never fear, I love them all the same. So I also got one for the leafcutter bees. You'll notice again, it is from Crown Bees, not a sponsor, just a fan. And these are smaller than the leafcutter bees. So here's to hoping that not only do the leafcutters stay this year, but that they also stay where I can spy on them more effectively for science and education. Okay, so this guy will go in there. Very gentle. And then we'll pop in all of our guys here. I'm not super worried about it today. When I do open this up for harvesting the bees, I will fix this problem. But if you look, you can actually see bits of wood, kind of like splinters that are in here. And we actually want to make sure that those are not in place because it could hurt our little bees when they go in and out of these things. If they walk past it, it could slice open their little wings, and we don't want that. I'm not worried about it right now because I think they will use the other holes, but I might come back through with something to kind of shave that down just a little bit to make it nice and smooth. Ugh. I made this very snug. Ugh. I might regret that later. We shall see. All right, and then the last thing for today is that I'm going to be doing some Invita Bee pheromone spray. It is specifically for the leafcutter bees. And what it does is it makes it smell like other leafcutter bees have been to the hotel. So we'll give a little spritz now. And this actually even comes with extra nesting material that I'm going to pop up in there. If you have a bee hotel and you have any kind of gaps, you want to make sure to fill them either with more nesting tubes or with sticks or really anything that you can find. The reason being that you might get wasps. Paper wasps have liked to move into my hotels here, and while that might be okay, they are invasive in my area, and they've also sometimes been aggressive enough to actually push out each of these nesting tubes. They can't get this Jonko out though because it's really in there. I might not be able to get it out. So we shall see. Now, if I was not able to remove the mason bee nesting material because maybe everyone filled it up and used it up, then there is no other solution than to just get another bee hotel. Oh, how terrible. But I've already used up all my budget. So if you'd like to stick around, next video I will be actually upcycling one of my multitudinous Nesquik chocolate powder containers and turning it into another bee hotel for my bees. So it'll look just like that. So if you want to join me at that video, I'd love to see you there. And otherwise, I'll see you in about a week when my leafcutter bees arrive in the mail. Thanks for watching.